After years of working with injuries, I've realized most people spend far too much time worrying about things that barely moves their rehab forwards. Worrying about finding the perfect exercise, about whether something is slightly tight, whether their knee tracks perfectly, whether they should stretch before they train, whether they need to foam roll more. And meanwhile, the things that actually make the biggest difference barely gets any attention. So if I had to strip successful rehab back to just 5 things, these are the 5 I would focus on. And the first one is probably the biggest. Firstly, stop chasing relief and focus on getting strong. A lot of rehab is built around one question: what makes this feel better? And obviously, if you're in pain, that question matters. And I'm not saying symptom relief is pointless. As with everything, it has a time and a place. Sometimes we do need to calm things down. For example, we might temporarily modify your training. We might change an exercise. Mobility work might help. Isometrics might help. Even simply reducing the volume of work you're doing in a short period of time might help. But eventually, we have to change the question. So instead of asking what makes this feel better, I want to know what's going to make this body feel more capable. Because feeling better and being prepared aren't necessarily the same thing. Someone can rest their knee for 3 weeks and feel fantastic, but as soon as they go back to running, their knee might start hurting again, and they think something must still be wrong with it. And that may be the case, but quite often the problem is much simpler than that. You removed the stress, so your symptoms have settled, but you never rebuilt the capacity to be able to handle the stress that you wanted to return to. And that's where strength comes in. If your knee struggles with load, at some point, we need to expose it to load. If your Achilles struggles with running, at some point, we need that calf complex and Achilles to tolerate running and significant forces again. If your shoulder hurts when you're pressing, at some point, we need that shoulder to be capable of pressing again. And this is probably the most important takeaway message from this section. You can't spend the whole of your rehab process trying to protect something and then suddenly expect it to perform when you ask it to. Relief might be something that gets you through the door, but strength is what starts to rebuild you. The second point, you're probably doing way too many exercises. And this is what I see constantly. Someone sends me their rehab plan and it's enormous. Countless of activation exercises and stretching before they even get to the rehab specific drills. Add in some random band work and maybe a balanced Bosu ball exercise thrown in as well. And they have absolutely no idea if anything is improving. And it's because they've got so much going on that nothing is actually being tracked or progress. I'd much rather you focus on 4 exercises that you can get very good at. You know what weight you're doing, you know what sets and reps you're following, you know how difficult it feels. And over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we can actually move those numbers forwards. Maybe that split squat starts at body weight, then 10 kilograms, maybe 20. We might change the tempo and the range of motion. We might make it faster and more explosive. Now we're actually building something. Compare that to changing your exercise every week because you've seen a new fancy rehab video on Instagram. And all these exercises, you're actually not given anything time to work. And I think people massively underestimate this. Rehab doesn't need endless variety. It needs progression. Your body adapts to the stress that you repeatedly expose it to. So instead of constantly asking, what's another exercise I can add? Start asking, how can I already make what I'm doing better? Fewer exercises, done consistently, progress properly, and that's a lot more effective than just collecting another 10 random exercises. The third area to focus on is keep training what you can. One of the worst things an injury can do is making somebody stop seeing themselves as an athlete. You hurt your knee, you stop running, you stop training legs, you stop playing your sport, and before long, you're treating like your entire body is injured. It isn't. Your knee might be irritated, your Achilles might be injured, your shoulder might need some work, but that doesn't automatically mean that everything needs to stop. And this is something that I really try to encourage the people that I work with. Keep training. We just have to find what you can currently tolerate. Maybe you can't run, but can you cycle? Can you row? Can you still train your upper body? Can you still train the unaffected leg? Can we modify the movements that currently irritate you rather than just completely removing them? Maybe squatting deep hurts. Can we reduce the range temporarily? Maybe your shoulder hurts when you're pressing. Can we change the angle or the load? There's usually a lot more you can do than people think, and keeping some level or form of training in has another benefit. And that benefit is when the injury improves, you're not trying to rebuild absolutely everything from ground zero. You've maintained your fitness, you've maintained your strength, you've maintained that normal athlete routine, and you've also maintained your confidence with your body along the way. If not, amongst all of them, we can actually view your injury as an opportunity to come back even better and stronger than before. How I view it, rehab shouldn't turn an active person into a patient who's bedbound for 3 months. A successful, structured rehab plan that is tailored to you should help you to keep as active as possible whilst we currently focus on the things that need our attention. Moving on to the fourth area to focus on. Train for what you're actually getting yourself back to. And this is where most people's rehab falls apart. Let's say you're trying to get back to football. You spend 3 months focusing on leg presses, leg extensions, hamstring curls, maybe some split squats. You get significantly stronger, and that's great. But then you go back to football. You're sprinting, changing direction, you're landing awkwardly, you're bumping into players, you're decelerating, you're trying to react to what they're gonna do next. And suddenly you're surprised that that knee doesn't feel quite ready. Of course, strength matters. It's massively important. However, your rehab eventually needs to start looking like the thing that you're trying to get yourself back to. If you're a runner, eventually you need exposure to running. If you're a tennis player, you need to expose yourself to lateral movement, acceleration, deceleration, rotation. If you're getting back to football, eventually we need sprinting, cutting, landing, jumping, changes of direction. The gym gives us a brilliant environment to rebuild capacity, but the gym isn't the finish line, and this also applies to life outside of sport. If you want to be able to go for a random hike with friends for 5 hours without your knee blowing up, we eventually need your body to be able to handle that. If you simply just want to spend the afternoon gardening without any problems, we need to eventually expose your body to that. If you want to be in the living room playing with your kids and picking them up without any worries about your back blowing out or flaring up, we eventually need your body to be able to handle that. And it sounds ridiculously obvious when you say it like that, but you'd be surprised just how many rehab programs never reach that point. The goal of your rehab should progressively start to resemble the activity or sport that you want to get back to. Not on day one, but by the end, absolutely. And the fifth and final area to focus on is not stopping when your pain disappears. And this is probably the mistake I see more than anything else. Your rehab starts working. You're getting stronger. You're moving better. Your pain has almost completely gone. And then you stop, because in your mind, pain gone equals rehab finished. But it's important that you look at it completely differently. Pain going away is often the point where we can start to actually do some of our best work. Probably the drills and the sexy rehab stuff that you see all over social media. Because now you're tolerating more. You can train harder and at higher intensities. We can expose you to more demanding movements. We can start building the qualities that aren't just going to help you to feel okay, but actually help you to perform. Think about the rehab process like this. Rehab, then return to training, then performance, then maintenance, and eventually resilience. But most people just stop when they're pain-free. Then they just jump straight back into whatever they were doing before. Same running volume, same training, same loads, and then 2 weeks later, something starts hurting again. Then they think the rehab has failed, but more often than not, they've actually never fully completed it. All they did was finish the symptom management phase. And there's a big difference. For me, good and successful rehab isn't just can I get you out of pain. It's can I get your body back to doing what you want to do at the level you want to do it and make your body better prepared to handle it. And that is a completely different finish line. After years of working with injuries, that's what really good successful rehab has come down to for me. Getting strong instead of just chasing relief. Doing fewer exercises and actually progressing them. And keep training what and where you can. Preparing specifically for whatever you're trying to get back to, and also not stopping as soon as the pain disappears. None of those things are particularly exciting. There's no secret exercise. There's no magic mobility drill that's going to fix everything, as much as Instagram and TikTok tells you there is. And there definitely isn't just one perfect program that works for everybody. But if you focus on trying to be as consistent as you can on those 5 things, you're giving yourself a much better chance, not just get out of pain, but actually building a body that's capable of doing the things you want it to do. Because ultimately, rehab doesn't need to be complicated. It simply just needs to prepare your body for the life that you actually want to live.